This episode is brought to you by Hostfully. Using Hostfully, you can create a free digital guidebook for your listing so that you can save time creating a professional experience for every guest that comes and visits your spot. Learn more at hostfully.com.
Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome. We are your hosts, Josefa Kapadia and Jasper Rivers.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
This is podcast episode 321 of Get Paid for Your Pad, and still doing the series on how the coronavirus is impacting the Airbnb and short-term rental space. So today I'm going to cover updates, tips, and a lot of other stuff with my buddy Eric Miller here from San Diego.
That's right. Good seeing you, buddy.
How's it going, Eric? Welcome back on the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going good. Obviously, it's been a crazy journey, man. It's been a crazy journey.
It is indeed, and this week we've been very, very active, just trying to put out as much content as possible. We actually launched the Corona Survival Kit this week, which is very exciting, which we will talk about as well. But first, I would say let's dive into a few news topics. Kind of update you guys on what's going on when some of the major news items that have come out. So let's start with, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen this. You know, Airbnb came out with news that they are going to offer 100,000 free Airbnbs for coronavirus responders. What are your thoughts on that, Eric?
I think it's awesome. I think it's incredible that Airbnb is stepping up in this way to use their platform and their influence to support this crisis that's happening. And it's cool. It's 100,000 units throughout the entire planet. So it's obviously a fraction of the reach that they have, but they're aligning with nonprofits and they're aligning with hosts to make that happen. So just awesome. It's awesome to be part of a community that steps up and comes together to try to figure out how to support people that are on the front lines and battling this crisis while we're all home working and eating our survival food and watching Netflix, So it's cool to see people come together and try to solve this problem.
So if you want to be part of this program, you can go to airbnb.com/openhomes and then COVID-19 relief. So Airbnb is looking for 100,000 people who are willing to either open up their homes through relief workers or provide them a large discount. And so you can actually sign up on this page. And the only thing that Airbnb asks is that you adhere to certain cleaning standards because they want to provide a clean space. So they put together a whole bunch of best practices and checklists and stuff to make sure that the home is clean and safe. And I agree. It's a good initiative. The only thing is, there's already a sense amongst hosts that we don't really feel supported by Airbnb, right? Airbnb is allowing a lot of guests to cancel even outside of the extenuating circumstances policies. And so what is a little bit, how do you say that? Puts me a little bit on my back heel is that this is being marketed and communicated as Airbnb is providing all these free homes, whereas in reality it's the hosts who are providing the free homes, right? Airbnb is simply a platform. Airbnb connects, the host with the guest, and in this case with the relief workers. But it's the hosts who are taking a massive hit right now in this crisis. And even though hosts are taking a hit, they're still stepping up and offering their homes up for free or at very, very big discounts to nurses, to travel nurses, to medical professionals. So, I just want to say that it's really the hosts, in my opinion, that deserve the credit here.
100%. And I'm happy you brought that up, right? Because my first initial response to this is it's incredible that Airbnb is creating this initiative, but you're 100% right. I mean, at the end of the day, the average hosts are the ones that are stepping up in every way they're the first ones to get hit with what's happening in this industry with this crisis, right? They're the ones that are being affected by the cancellation policies. They're the ones that are being affected by the city shutdowns, all of this. And, again, I think it's awesome that Airbnb is starting this initiative and using their platform. But I think you're 100% right. I mean, at the end of the day, the messaging around this is that 100,000 hosts are stepping up to give free accommodations to emergency workers, medical workers, all of that. So I agree. I think that the average host needs more of a recognition on what's happening here versus Airbnb getting all the credit for it.
Absolutely. Now, I saw another news article that, and this is a little bit more positive for us hosts, that Airbnb is doing at least something to support us. They are lobbying with Congress members to get Airbnb hosts being part of the stimulus that they're releasing. Right. I think the government has released $2 trillion, which is crazy. That's a crazy amount of money. But they approved a $2 trillion stimulus bill, and Airbnb is putting in an effort to make sure that these Congress members are aware that hosts are needing support right now. So that's something positive there.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and we're watching the Airbnb community, the host community, really coming together to support that. And we posted that up in our Facebook group, but the website for anybody who wants to go there and actually support this host relief program, it's actnow.airbnbcitizen.com. And that's an Airbnb website that you can actually send an email to your Congress asking for relief for Airbnb hosts. So that's one way to get behind this and kind of push this forward. So hopefully we can get this. I think, there's a lot of people being affected by this inside the short-term rental, world and outside the short-term rental world. So, $2 trillion sounds like a lot of money. And I'm going to be curious to see how this actually affects hosts like ourselves.
Yeah, and just to put that in perspective, because $2 trillion, I mean, it's such a big number. It's a 2 and then 12 zeros. I hope I'm correct on that, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 1 million is 6 zeros, 1 billion is 9 zeros, 1 trillion is 12 zeros, right? And just to put that in perspective, the total GDP of the USA, the yearly amount of value that's being created in the entire country, I believe, is around 20 trillion. So that's 10% of what everybody earns in 1 year together. Yeah.
Wow.
As you comment on that, I'll look it up to make sure I'm right on that.
Yeah, we need a fact checker moving forward on this podcast. That's crazy. I didn't realize that after a while, like, you see these big numbers, especially with the U.S. government, of just tossing out money like it's crazy and just kind of printing money hand over fist. But they say 2 trillion, and I don't think our minds really connect with how big of a stimulus package that is. So yeah, that's crazy that GDP is 20 trillion.
Yeah, I just looked it up. 2019, the total GDP, and GDP, for those who don't know, stands for gross domestic product, was 21.5 trillion. So it's almost 10% of what we all, or well, not me, I'm not an American, but what you guys all, with 50 million Americans together, produce in 1 year. This is almost 10% of that. So I guess one way of expressing it would be to say that, it's kind of like what all Americans together earn in 1 month. That's kind of the size of this of the stimulus package. So it's a lot of money, and it's good that Airbnb is trying to make sure that we as a host are included in that. Again, not me, but I'm talking about stimulus. Like, you guys are getting a check. Right?
Apparently. Apparently that's part of. So there's a lot of. I mean, man, like, this is a terrifying time as a world to go through this, but watching what the current government is doing here in the States to counteract this challenge, not only try to solve this whole Corona thing, but what they're putting into place for the everyday person who lives here, plus small businesses, is pretty damn incredible. I'm actually really impressed with their response towards this. Not only, the $2 trillion stimulus, but part of that is, every American is going to receive a $1,200 check. I think it's up to, so a $1,200 check for the individual, and we might have to double check these numbers, but I think it's up to, if you earn up to $75,000, you'll receive a $1,200 check. For couples that earn up to $150,000 a year, I believe, is $2,400, which is incredible. On top of that, they released the SBA loans, 30-year loans at like 3.72% that hosts can actually apply for. And this actually, especially if you have multiple companies, if you have employees, if you have team members, you can actually apply for those SBA loans, and we have resources on that too. If anybody needs, we can probably get that out to them. But they can apply for that, and then on top of that, what the administration announced yesterday is that self-employed individuals can now apply for unemployment. So during this process. So, and that's a huge deal, because there's a lot of people, my sister was texting me this yesterday. She lives in New York City, and she's in the entertainment world. And, she earns when she is working, right? And she's a self-employed individual, and her money has completely shut off. And it's always been a scary thing, to go down that route. And now, especially as hosts, where if you're just earning money off of your 1 or 2 listings or multiple listings, and that money gets shut off, and you don't have your reserves, there's really nobody there to kind of support you. And this is a big thing. And my sister was texting me literally in tears. She's like, I can't believe this is in place. I can actually, apply for something and get some money to feed myself. And I'm starting to realize how big of a deal this is, and how big of an impact this can have on the everyday individual and the everyday host. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of obviously a lot of negative, but there's some positive that's coming out of this. And I think the further we go into this, I think what we're going to see is more and more people coming together on this. Like, we're already seeing this in our communities online. More and more people coming together to support. But it's not. I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. It's not just all doom and gloom right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the world is not gonna go away. We'll survive all of this. But I was gonna say, Lyric also laid off some staff today, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we're seeing, I think in general, we're seeing people that are doing rental arbitrage. So people or companies that are renting units and then re-renting on Airbnb. I think those are the companies that are really in trouble right now, because they, obviously they have to pay the rents. And I mean, right now what we're seeing in most of our communities is that the people that are getting booked, they're getting like longer stays. They're typically about break even or slightly above break even. And so, it's obviously, if you have a company and you're breaking even on those rents, you have all your overhead, your staff, and all of that. That's not, it's hard to survive in this environment.
Yeah. And listen, man, I mean, this better than anybody, because we now spend so much time together working on this industry and our companies. And I've been preaching this for a year. that the rental arbitrage model, it's a great model, when done correctly and when things are solid. But I've been preaching this for a year that the rental arbitrage model is such a risky model. And we're watching this not only on a smaller level, but now the bigger companies that have VC-backed companies that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars are literally, we just read today, and Lyric is one of my favorite companies. Andrew's a good friend, and I love their vision. I love their company, their culture, the way that they design their properties, the standards in their properties are world class. But today they have a team of 100 people, and they're letting go. I believe it was 2/3, and we'll get the article and post it to confirm that. But the one stat that blew my mind is that they're letting go over 400 properties in 10 different cities. I've been preaching this for a year that this model is great, and I made a lot of money doing that model, and we scaled that really, really quick. But stepping back and looking at this, I realized, I'm like, man, if the cash flow stops in any way, if any disruption happens in any way, we're tied into these contracts. We have a lot of money tied into our furniture in these properties, and there's no real asset to protect ourselves, right? And this is, no one's seen this coming at all. This type of crisis where travel just comes to a complete halt around the entire planet, which is nuts. But I think this is a good example. We're watching, especially our legends, STR legends, we're watching the companies that are leveraged through the rental arbitrage model are taking the biggest hit because there's so much money that's going out and there's really no assets for them, right? There's nothing that they can sell off or re-leverage in any way to get cash to stay above. The individuals that are really being supported right now are the co-hosts and the management companies, right? Because their biggest expenses are their team, right? And their actual company, not the actual asset or the properties that they're running. So, and I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom on the rental arbitrage. I'm not saying that I won't ever lease another property and then re-rent it back out as a short-term rental in the near future. But I think this is going to be writing on the wall for a lot of people to look at their business models and say, man, we gotta be really careful on how we scale this model. We gotta be really careful on how we leverage this model. And then also we're watching a lot of companies fold up because they didn't pay attention to their cash flow. They didn't pay attention to their revenue. It's been so freaking easy to make money over the last few years on Airbnb alone that, we thought that the money would just keep coming in. And we're just going to go keep leasing properties and doing all this stuff and spending our money. But now we're watching and we're affected by this. This is a reality for our company as well. It's like we didn't really pay attention to reserves or cash flow. So it's like I think we're going to see a massive shift in this industry going from the everyone can generate money on Airbnb and through short-term rental to where we have to now look at this as real CEOs and understand like, okay, all this money's coming in, but what do we do to survive the next winter, right? That comes through the next season, the next interruption, on really focusing on how leveraged we are on these properties and really focused on our cash reserves. I think once we get through this, we're going to have massive opportunities and we're going to start generating some cash flow again. But I think it's opening up a lot of people's eyes towards the rental arbitrage model for one.
Yeah, and that model already started becoming a little bit challenging with all the regulations. So this is really just on top of that, because even before the coronavirus hit, we were already seeing people that were struggling a little bit, especially in the major markets as competition was increasing.
Hi, my name is Margot, and I'm the CEO of Hostfully. We are on a mission to make local travel a lot better, and we're starting with digital guidebooks to make that happen. Using Hostfully digital guidebooks, which work great on any mobile device, on desktop and in print, you can share important property information and local recommendations with your guests. You can also save time and create a great guest experience that each traveler will appreciate. Hostfully guidebooks are very fast to make, and we've included some advanced features where you can feature your custom logo, your colors, custom categories, and essentially your brand. Please take a chance to check us out at hostfully.com.
Let's shift to some more positivity.
Yeah, let's do that.
You and I you and I spent about 4 hours yesterday with about 45 people in entrepreneurs, mostly in the online marketing space, to mastermind and to get ideas from each other of like what's happening, what's going on, and what should we do. And I think we can definitely get some positivity from that because, first of all, I just wanted to share a few words of wisdom from these entrepreneurs, and these are people from all over the U.S. One thing that I really liked was one person said, right now it's what's really, really important is 4 things, right? Number 1, stay calm, right? Don't panic. Don't let your emotions get in the way. Stay calm. Get good guidance. I think that's a really good one. Right. There's because right now we have to take decisions. You and I have completely shifted our business model. For example, I'm looking at my properties and trying to decide like, okay, what am I going to do with them? We need good guidance because there's so much information out there now that it's just all over the place, right? So we need to really be very conscious about who we're listening to because everyone kind of has an opinion right now. So we have to get good guidance. We have to stay focused. Right, that's another thing that's really changing right now because it's like the status quo is completely just blown out of order, and we need to find like a new like equilibrium almost, right, in our business of like, okay, what are we doing? And so I think we have to make sure when we don't get distracted, we don't spend too much time looking at news and news channels and social media and all that kind of stuff. We really have to focus on our business right now. And because when it's smooth sailing, it's a little bit less challenging, right? To kind of have your business and keep it running and all of that. In times like this, it really comes down to you as a business owner. Like, how are you going to tackle this, right? And I think focusing and having a sharp focus on the most important things that you have to do right now for your business is really important. And then the last thing, number 4, is take action. Right, we have to take action fast because the people that are ahead of the curve, they tend to do best in these environments, right? So, I just wanted to share that. Well, you want to share any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So and to kind of give some background, like that mastermind that we were on, started at 6 a.m. yesterday because there was people calling in from all around the country to this, and there was over 45 people. But not only were they online marketers and educators, but these are some of the top real estate investors in the country. These are people that really have their thumb on the pulse when it comes to blue collar America. Understand they buy a ton of properties, renovate them, and either flip them or rent them. And these are people that are making millions and millions of dollars doing that, but then also are really tied into their communities. And they can see the impact that it's having throughout cities and towns throughout the country, right? And these are people that have also been real estate investors for years. They've been real estate investors through 9/11 and 2008, and all of that through these crises. So they understand how to survive these crises and pivot, right? And a majority of those individuals that were on the call with us, they were all, this goes back to what I was saying about before about being, profitable and understanding your business model. These are all individuals that knew something was coming. So they set up their businesses to focus on reserves and cash flow and profit, not over leveraging themselves. And they're looking at this, even though everyone is like terrified of what's happening. They're looking at the news, and I agree with you 100%. It's like, shut off, be distant from your digital side of this, and choose the channels that you really want to learn and be educated from. When we were talking to them, I went on there thinking that we were going to hear doom and gloom from the real estate world. And it was nothing but positivity. They're like, yeah, we're going through pain. It's painful now, and it might get a little bit more painful in the future, in the near future, but this is going to open up so much opportunity for so many businesses to scale, right? And so many businesses and people to find new opportunities. And it was really, really positive, and that made me feel really good about this whole thing, because I think it can get scary just being locked in your house, right, and not being able to leave. And all this stuff that's going on, we think that this is the end of the world, but And I'm not saying these guys are the world experts on what's happening, but it feels good to surround yourself with high level performers like that, they're committed to keeping their businesses going, their employees in place, and their lifestyles going. And they feel nothing but positivity out of this. And, out of that one tip that you said, the last part, take action and stay focused. I think staying focused, and this is especially for the Airbnb hosts out there, short-term rental hosts out there, staying focused is going to be one of the most challenging things during this time. In the last 72 hours, I've been presented with 5 new business opportunities, right, for me to join and make money. And like, Eric, this is the new thing. We're going to make a bunch of money, blah, blah, blah. Let's get on board here. And I spent so much time talking to these people to understand. And these are, they're authentic business ideas, but they're ideas. There's nothing that's really set in stone. And I think what happens is when we go through these crises, and especially as, a host that our revenue is completely shut off and stop, our minds go to survival, and survival is like, get money. Get money means that I can have my house and my food and whatever else. So we go out and look for the new shiny object. We go out and try to find a new business, try to build a new business. We try to pivot really, really fast and create something brand new. And as beautiful as that is, because that's a beautiful part of being a human, especially as being an entrepreneur, is being able to create ideas and turn those into businesses. But my advice towards this, because I had to check myself, because these are really good ideas, and I'm like, oh, this is exciting, I could do this, blah, blah, blah. But I had to keep coming back and putting the blinders on and focusing on my business model, on our business model. And it's like, I believe in my model. I believe in what we're building and the impact that we're having. And it's tough right now, but if we put the blinders on and say no to everything else, and if we believe in our model and we just take action every single day, and for anybody who follows us, the last 2 weeks, all you and I have been doing is taking action literally every single day for about 12, 13 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's because we believe in what we're doing, right? And we know it's difficult now, but we'll get through this eventually. But if we're scattered, especially the hosts out there that have their money completely stopped, their bookings completely stopped, if they're looking for these new opportunities and all this stuff and leave their business model behind them, thinking that something else is going to solve the problem, to me, that opens up more problems than actual opportunity. I think we as a community, have an opportunity to stay focused and take action to build our business, put our systems in place, understand what's happening. The opportunities will be massive in the travel industry, in the short-term rental industry, in the near future, in the next couple of months or the next year, whenever that is. It's not going to be forever. The opportunities in the short-term rental industry are going to be freaking massive for the people who stay focused and just take action in their business. So I just wanted to say that because I found myself being distracted by all these amazing ideas. And, I'm glad you brought that up. It's like staying focused and taking action now. Because if you love this industry is I think it's going to come back stronger than ever. And I think there's going to be massive, massive opportunity for the small and big hosts that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate that. And just to name a few more lessons that stood out for me was, let me see. Oh yeah, they talked about the team, right? So one of the things that really stuck with me, like me and Eric, we have an incredible team right now. And obviously we, during these times, it's, we have to survive. We have to make sure that we make enough money to stay in business. But if you can, keep your best team members, right? If you have some great team members, it's really important to keep them on, because once the opportunities come, you don't want to be hiring new people and going through the whole process, because that's going to take a lot of time, and then you're not going to be in a good place to take advantage of these opportunities. So I thought that was a really good piece of advice as well.
100%.
And then lastly, a couple one-liners. Don't think outside of the box, break the box. And also think about what are people going to need once this crisis is over. right? Just kind of thinking ahead because everyone's so focused on what's going on right now, which is understandable. But at the same time, we want to also think like, okay, what's going to happen once this thing is over, right? What are people going to need? What are people going to want to do, right? So I thought that was an interesting one as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Let's move on because man, we're already talking for 30 minutes. I still want to cover a few other things. Like number one, let's give a brief overview of what we see is working right now. How are people getting bookings? I got a couple new bookings on my properties, which is awesome, and I'll share that. But also, I want to talk a little bit about our Corona Survival Kit as well that we put together and in our inner circle. So let's start with what we see is working. Right.
Yeah.
So I'll name a couple things and then you can share your thoughts as well. So I think what I'm seeing in my properties is that I've got a few longer bookings, like a 2-week booking and a month booking. And these are people that are looking to stay in my places because they want to be close to a family member. Older family members, but they don't want to move in with them because they don't want to expose that person to the virus, but they want to be close in case they need help. So that's where my bookings are coming from. But what we see in our inner circle, what we see from our students, our legends, and all our communities is that they're getting longer stays. And they started to advertise this as well, like advertise in the title, like 13-week discount, 2-week discount. Even Sonder, I noticed, was doing marketing with 14+ day stays, 40% discount. A lot of people are looking for accommodation, but it's for very different reasons, right? There are medical professionals, there are people who are stranded, people who want to quarantine themselves. Those are the people that are looking for places right now. We've seen people shifting to either the long-term or medium-term stays, and platforms that have come up are Facebook Marketplace was one that I hadn't heard before. I heard it yesterday. I was talking to Kyle at the Fearless Flippers podcast. He said he was getting some bookings from Facebook Marketplace, which is something I haven't looked into. There's a website called Furnished Finders that people are having luck with, and then there's the traditional ones like Craigslist and Zillow. But also an interesting point from the Mastermind yesterday is that if you look at how much time people spend on social media, and especially Facebook right now, it's off the charts, right? Because so many people are home. Right. And so what do? They watch Netflix and they go on Facebook and other social media channels. And so that's interesting because, if you have social media channels, it might be worth just jumping on there more and more just to let people know that if, what kind of accommodation you have and who is it suitable for. I've seen people getting some luck as well with reaching out to former guests, talking to the current guests and seeing if they want to expand. And then the last tip I'll share is if you have a larger home, larger homes are not getting booked much right now because there's not a lot of people that want to travel or they're traveling in general. And, larger groups are typically, they're travelers, right? Mostly now it's individuals that are looking for a place to stay. And so if you do have a home with like 4, 5, 6 bedrooms, what you could consider is creating new listings for each individual room and seeing if you can rent out those rooms room by room for people that are looking for a room for a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. Also, the added benefit to that is when you create a new listing, Airbnb gives new listings a little bump in the search results because they want to for new listings. Like otherwise, you don't have a chance as a new Airbnb host, right? So they have a period. I think it's like 6 or 8 weeks or so where they give you a bump. So just having a new listing might actually get you a better chance of finding some people in need for accommodation right now. So that's what I have to share. I'll pass the mic to you, Eric.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you hit the nail on its head. I think we have to make a decision or a mental decision here and understanding that we are not hosting short-term rental leisure guests anymore. Right now, we're switching from short-term rental to medium stays. As far as that's what I've seen. I've seen, especially in our inner circle, the hosts that are going through the survival kit and actually putting this stuff to action. We're finding a lot of people in our inner circle taking action on attracting more medium stays, right? So finding people from 14 to 30, to 14 days to about 90 days, right? 3 months. There's a lot of travel nurses right now, medical experts that are looking for these homes near hospitals and long stays. So I think for sure making that pivot will attract a lot more people. Now, there's one thing to notice that we're doing a lot of research on now, and I think it's pretty important to talk about this. Is we had somebody yesterday message us that they're advertising that they want to support travel nurses in their home, and their neighbor is reaching out to them, freaking out about it because they don't want people traveling to their homes. So traveling to their neighborhoods. And I think it's a obviously fear. It's a reaction towards this, and I think their neighbor is just kind of blowing this out of proportion. But just know, if you are, to your point of like renting out all those extra bedrooms in a house, I would definitely target towards, instead of just anybody, I would target towards the medical industry. There's a lot of travel nurses right now that I read a stat that the demand for travel nurses is going up 10x by 2021. So they're expecting an additional 2.1 million travel nurses in the United States alone to help with this situation and additional situations in the future. So I think it's a good opportunity to kind of just market towards that. And if you have a bigger home and you want to break up those units, I would make it clear that there's other people staying in that house, but they're all part of the medical industry, and you could potentially rent those rooms to people in the same company, right? So I think we have to be cautious of that. We have to definitely be aware of how and who we're renting to, because it's not just bringing people into your property, but it's also bringing people into your neighborhood. And we have to obviously respect our neighbors and everybody else around us. So, but with that said, I think we're seeing great results, especially in our inner circle, of people taking action and getting those medium stays.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed as well is that apparently travel nurses, a lot of them have pets, right?
Yes.
And so I think putting up pet friendly, this is something we discussed actually in our inner circle on Tuesday, is, right now might be a very good time to be a little bit more flexible on pets, because a lot of nurses have cats or dogs or different pets. I don't know, maybe lizards or snakes or whatever.
Tiny horses, mini horses.
But yeah, right now would be a good time to, be flexible on pets and maybe allow them, even if you didn't allow them in the past. All right, man. Let's move on. Let's talk about our survival kit.
Yeah, let's do it.
That was fun putting that thing together.
That was fun.
To give people some background, about a week and a half ago, me and Eric basically sat down and we realized, okay, we need to come up with a product that is going to help people right now, right? Everybody is looking to, we're all in the same spot right here, right? We're looking for information that's going to help us to get through this crisis, but also help us decide, what are we going to do? Are we going to stick with short-term rentals? Are we going to, do medium term? Should we be looking for long-term rentals? And so what we did is we gathered all the information from our communities, everything that we see working, and we put together, I think it's about 40 pages.
Mm-hmm.
The kit. It's about 40 pages, so it's a pretty sizable piece. Plus, we also we have a team member who's very, very creative, and she put together some incredible resources that come with the kit. So, cleaning checklists, CDC recommended cleaning products, swipe email copy to contact travel nurse companies. Swipe copy to contact your guest, listing, title, description, examples. There's a whole lot in there, and we just launched it a couple of days ago. You can find it at strsurvivalkit.com. So that's something that we're super excited about, and a lot of people have downloaded it already. So we're super happy with the result.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts, Eric?
Yeah. I mean, just like everybody else, we got hit really freaking hard with the coronavirus, and we're going through this. Our legends are going through this. Everybody else is going through this, but there's really no solution to this right now. So we just spent hours. Let's kind of give everyone a background here. We spent hours, weeks with the two of us plus our other two team members, interviewing as many people as possible, trying to understand this, and then understand what's actually could get results to stay in business, at least just to break even at this point and set ourselves up for success in the near future. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of what we've put together with the Corona Survival Kit, and we put all of this together just as a resource for everybody in our community. We have a pretty large reach when it comes to the short-term rental space, through the podcast, through the blog, through the Facebook groups, and everything else that we're doing. And this was like really our way of kind of supporting everybody as much as possible. And then on top of that, we're asking, we asked ourselves not only what can we put in the kit itself, but what other resources can we share? So yeah, the 3-part video series that we have in there, the checklist. I mean, Maiva, our team member, did an incredible job at kind of organizing, the CDC cleaning list, checklist, putting together all the communications to reach out to current guests, on how to help them keep their reservations in place, but then offer them a discount if they were planning on canceling, offer them a discount to schedule for a later date, right? So it's just kind of packed with as much content as we could put together that we know that's getting results, because we see the results. Not only we just see all the results within our community, especially within the inner circle. So yeah, I'm super proud of that. We had a few hundred people download it so far, which is awesome. So we want to get this out to anybody and everybody. So yeah, go to strsurvivalkit.com, just download that. And then if you know anybody else that's a host right now, we built this specifically for any host, any size. So if you're renting out, a bedroom, or if you have one listing, or if you have 500 listings, this kit is designed for literally any host, any size. So if you know anybody, just please share it with them. And, hopefully we can help as many people around the world stay in business during this crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. And we wanted to make sure that this is affordable for everybody out there. So we priced it at just $7, which I think is a really good price for a pretty comprehensive resource. We spent quite a bit of money on just making sure it looks good and it's designed well, and the information is kind of presented in a fun way, because no one's going to read a big resource if it doesn't look good. So we appreciate your support on this. This is just kind of our way of creating something that's affordable to people, but it also helps us to stay in business, essentially, to be quite frank. So yeah, Eric, why don't you explain a little bit about our inner circle, because we made some changes there as well. So I want to make sure that the people know what the inner circle really is.
Yeah. So for everyone who's listening, the inner circle is something that Jasper and I created over a year ago for our students. So our company is the Short-Term Rental Profit Academy. And our goal with that was to help anyone help students scale their business from 0 or 1 properties to 25 units within their short-term rental business. And we gave resources, very, very in-depth training. And part of that training was an inner circle, to where anybody that was part of our student base, our academy, had access to our network, had access to different trainings, live Q&As. You and I do a lot of free content out in the world, but we also do a lot of in-depth trainings for people. And we leverage our community and our reach with our connections in the industry to bring in some additional training to our students. So what we realized during this process, like we built this kit, and this kit was it's so freaking powerful. And like whoever just downloads it and uses the kit, they can put this to action and start getting results. But we realized one of the most important parts of the crisis that's happening right now is community, right? Is being able to plug into the right community, shut off all the negative news, shut off all the negative, Facebook feeds and all this stuff, and plug into a community that you can relate with, that's going through the same challenge that you're going through, but then also is taking all these tips that we just put together in the kit and putting it to action, and then giving live feedback on what's working, what's not working. So what our goal now is, for anybody who goes through the kit, we want to get you into our inner circle. So we set that up at a reasonable price as well to get in, and we dropped it from one big ticket price item down to $97 a month. So literally bringing you guys into the inner circle at a cost that's pretty much, anybody, any host, any size could really afford that. But then on top of that, what we've done is we've stepped up the amount of content and training that we're doing inside the circle. So essentially what we're doing in the inner circle is, not only is it a private community, but you and I mean, once a week, we go really freaking deep on a in-depth training that we do a lot of research on. We put together, and if anybody who's on Facebook and who's in the inner circle, just drop some comments and tell people the experience and the value that you're getting from this. But we do in-depth trainings once a week. We do 2 live Q&A and hot seat sessions a week now. On top of that, every Friday, we're going to do a coronavirus short-term rental update every single Friday. And then once a month, the first Wednesday of every single month, we bring in a high-level expert to sit down, do a one-on-one interview with them, a presentation, and then open it up for a Q&A. These are people that have just a different, thumb on the pulse within this industry. We're lining up a interview with the CEO of AirDNA, Scott Schaffer. We have some of the top tech companies, some of the top hosts in the world that are going to come into this inner circle and really train us, including, myself and you, on what's happening on a short-term rental side. So that's our inner circle, and it's part of something that we want to, our why, our mission, to have a massive impact on this industry worldwide. So yeah, for anybody who's interested in that as well, just go to strsurvivalkit.com, download the kit. We have links in there that you can gain access to the inner circle. And then get you guys set up. We have some pretty awesome trainings coming up in the next couple of weeks. And again, as of right now, due to the crisis that's happening, we priced it at a point to just kind of make it accessible to any host that's out there that really wants to understand how to survive this, but then also thrive once the opportunities arise. So was that a good explanation of the inner circle?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, cheers to that.
Yeah, I think I'll just add one thing. I think me and Eric, we spent a lot of time figuring out how can we help as much as possible, right? And obviously we're busting out a ton of content. We're doing these podcasts live in the Airbnb Profit Club. So if you're listening to this on the podcast through iTunes or whatever it may be, you can actually, on every Monday and every Thursday at 10 a.m., you can go in the Airbnb Profit Club if you're not already in there, and you can be live. You can watch us live, right? And you can see our faces. I'm also working on getting this on YouTube as well. But there's so many things to do right now. It's kind of overwhelming, but we're really going all out on trying to provide value, trying to help people. But we realized that one of the biggest values that we can bring is our connections in the industry, right? Because like Eric mentioned, the CEOs of these companies, like those are people that you normally you don't really get to talk to them because they're busy people, right? But because of the relationships that we have, we can bring them into our circle so that people can actually have one-on-one conversations with them. So I think that's one of the biggest values that we can bring. And, we have to wrap up because we've been talking for 50 minutes already. And we actually have a live with the Inner Circle coming up in 10 minutes. So I got to wrap this up. There's so much to talk about though, but Eric, thanks for joining. And so just so you guys know, our plan is to every Monday, we do a podcast with where we invite somebody on the show. And then every Thursday, me and Eric give you guys an update on what's going on in the industry, everything that we see with the developments, all of that, tips, you name it. So that's going to be our schedule. Appreciate everybody who's listening to us. Thanks for everybody who's already downloaded the Survival Kit. Thank you for your support. Helps us to keep producing content for everybody out there. So thanks, Eric, and
thank you.
Let's crush it today, man.
That's right, man. And we'll chat with everybody next week. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, guys, and see you next time.
All right, guys. Chat soon. Bye.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get